Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the kickoff of Triple P in Ohio. We are so excited that this day has finally come. I am Leanne Cornian. I am the Director of Children's Initiatives for Governor Mike DeWine. And the governor created the Children's Initiative back in 2019, just moments after he was sworn in as Ohio's governor. It's an exciting initiative that brings together all of our child-serving agencies to ensure that we are aligning programming to best support kids and families to make Ohio truly the best state in the nation to have a child and raise a family. So we know that this pandemic has been incredibly challenging for children and families alike. So it is so thrilling for us to finally be able to roll out this statewide free training for families to best meet the needs of their children and ensure that we are promoting long-term success, bonding, all of those great things that we know Ohio's children need to thrive. We know our kids are our future, and we know that the future of Ohio is bright, and this is just one piece of making sure that we continue to have a bright future here in Ohio. We started talking about expanding Triple P statewide back in 2019. I know that the Department of Job and Family Services had this on their list as part of our Family First Prevention Services plan. And we were able to expedite it because we know that families need this support and training today more than ever. So thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for participating in today's webinar. And with that, I am thrilled to turn it over to Jeff Van Dusen, the Assistant Director over the Office of Families and Children at the Department of Job and Family Services. Jeff?
Thank you, Leanne. Like Leanne said, I am Jeff Van Dusen. I oversee the Office of Families and Children here within ODFS. So just to give you some background, our office is responsible for overseeing programs within Ohio's Children's Services System, which that spans from prevention programming all the way through foster care and adoption. So many of you know that, or many of you may not know that the Ohio Children's Trust Fund is also a part of our office. And the trust fund supports the primary and secondary child abuse and neglect prevention programs throughout the state. And primary prevention programs, they seek to spread universal awareness at a community level, while the secondary aspect of prevention programs are targeted at those families and parents who may be at risk of child abuse and neglect. So it is great to have the trust fund a part of the office and to really be working toward that full continuum. So on the other side of that continuum is the Office of Families and Children, which that aspect of the office is truly working to stand up approved evidence-based programs to support that tertiary prevention population. And one aspect of that is through the Family First Prevention Services Act. We call that FFPSA, which is federal legislation which was established in 2018. And FFPSA really, the main piece to this and what makes it unique is that it shifts the way that federal dollars may be spent and allows states to utilize 4E dollars, which that's our federal dollars that come from the Health and Human Services and the Children's Bureau. So it allows states to utilize those 4E dollars to support that other end of the continuum, that tertiary prevention services. So some of those may be substance abuse, mental health programs, parent education for families that have already come in contact with the Children's Services System. So and we are excited, Leanne had mentioned, but we are certainly excited to be working with Triple P. And Triple P is actually one of those services that Ohio, we are working to include in our phase 2 of our prevention services plan. So along with one of the requirements, along with FFPSA, is that each state submit a prevention services plan. So we chose to phase this out. We've included 5 in our first phase of the plan, and we're working to include Triple P in the second phase. So, and it truly does allow us to bridge those services across that continuum of care. Also, one of the great things about Triple P is how the program is adaptive to meet parent and caregivers where they are and to provide that overall level of parenting support that meets the unique needs of the family. So through this layered approach to positive parent education, we will be able to reach parents, caregivers throughout Ohio's Child and Family Services system. So this is a very exciting time for Ohio. Like Leanne said, we have been working toward this and planning this for quite some time, and we're excited to continue this collaboration, not just within our agency, the work that the trust fund is doing, as well as the work on the other side of the house with in my office, families and children, but also with our Office of Family Assistance and childcare, but overall archingly and expanding out even to other state agencies. So this is very exciting time for Ohio. Thank you all for being here. Excited to be a part of this today. And I'm going to turn it over to Lindsey Williams, who is the Executive Director of the Ohio Children's Trust Fund. I'll allow her to introduce herself and the other presenters. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Lindsey Williams. As Jeff said, I'm the Executive Director of the Ohio Children's Trust Fund. We sit within the Office of Families and Children, and we get to work in partnership with those colleagues to really look at programs that can support families across that continuum of care. I do have a couple of housekeeping items to go over, but before I do that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about kind of the vision in Ohio for this layered approach to Triple P service implementation, and then introduce our other presenters. So we have, the Trust Fund has been funding Triple P in Ohio for a number of years, and we are really excited to be able to work with other partners in JFS and our Governor's Children's Initiative to expand these efforts and really build this layered approach that is going to better serve families and children in Ohio. Triple P actually has over 35 years of ongoing research to help prevent problems in the family, school, community before they arise and before they create family environment and help to create those family environments that help children to reach their full potential. And so we love this program because it helps to kind of bolster those protective factors and help parents navigate through the challenges of parenting before a situation would arise that would bring that family to the attention of Children's Services, or to support families as they're navigating some of those challenges. So through this layered approach in Ohio, the vision is really to provide access to Triple P programming through parents throughout the state. And we're doing that in a couple different ways. We are currently working to build capacity for service providers that may already be providing Triple P services to parents in Ohio. As you will hear later, Triple P is really a system with lots of different levels and modules that can be tailored to meet families and parents where they are at. And so why we are currently, why we currently have some providers, we want to build capacity for that, knowing that as we continue forward with our work with FFPSA, as we get into really this awareness campaign around these efforts, that we're going to have more families that are going to be interested in seeking out these supports. So we want to be able to build that capacity. Another piece of that is what we are going to really focus a lot on today, which is the launching of our Triple P online, that with funding from the Trust Fund and from Ohio Department of Job and Family Services through that partnership, we are making Triple P online services available for free to all parents across the state. And actually that went live last week. And I am very excited to say that we've already had over 120 parents stumble across that resource and register and begin working through those modules. Additionally, we are working with our partners at the Ohio Child Care Resource and Referral Association, and with OFC Childcare to implement a program called the Positive Early Childhood Education Program. We refer to this with the acronym PEACE. And what this does is it trains early learning professionals in all of the tenets of the Triple P evidence-based programming. So through this layered approach, we are really excited to better support families across the state and are glad that you all are joining us today to learn more about this. Now, before we really dive in, just a couple of housekeeping items. We did schedule this webinar for 2 hours. We're anticipating it probably will not go the full 2 hours, but we did want to leave enough time for questions at the end. This is being recorded. So this is a Zoom webinar. It's being recorded, and we'll be sending out the recording to participants after the webinar. I did want to note a couple features in the Zoom webinar. So you do have a chat box, and you also have a Q&A box. So we want to invite everybody to say hello in the chat box, introduce yourself, let us know what agency you're from, or if you're a parent, what area of the state you're from. It's just a place to kind of chat back and forth with other participants. And then we also have the Q&A function. And in the Q&A function, if as you are listening to the webinar, if you have a question, go ahead and put that in the Q&A webinar, and then we are going to go back and answer all questions at the, well, as many as we possibly can, I suppose, at the end of the webinar. And some of those we might answer as we go along. So we're going to kind of hold that part to the very end. And I think that is all of my housekeeping items. I did want to also introduce Courtney Town with Triple P. She is, I'm trying to remember your exact title, but she has been working with Ohio as our Triple P project manager, program manager for a number of years. She's wonderful to work with, and I'm sure some of you on this call have had the opportunity to work with Courtney as well. I also wanted to introduce Kelly Brewer, and she is the statewide Triple P coordinator. She is with our Ohio Child Care Resource and Referral Association, and she is really the point person on the PEACE project, but then she's also helping to coordinate all of these layered efforts with expanding Triple P across the state. So our agenda for today, we've done the introductions. You've heard a little bit about the vision. Next, we are going to turn it over to Courtney to talk to us about what is positive parenting and positive early childhood education. And then we're going to spend some time where you'll get to hear from me again about the context in Ohio and our approach, and how you all can be involved in that. And then we are going to wrap up with that question and comment. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and go off camera and turn it over to Courtney.
Great. Thank you so much, Lindsay. And good afternoon to everybody. It's great to see folks shouting out from where you are in the chat. Please continue to do that. And as Lindsay said, again, just, any questions that come up as we go through any of this, please feel free to use that Q&A feature to pose any of your questions. And we do think we'll have plenty of time at the end to get to those. And if we don't, we will follow up afterward and make sure that we get back to folks. There may be something that comes up that we need to think a little bit about and get back to folks on. All right, so again, please use that Q&A feature to get your questions, and we'll get to those a little bit later on. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to share a video that we've got just to kind of get us grounded a little bit again in just this idea about why we want to make parenting support available for families. Like, why are we even really doing this, right? What's the point of all of this? We're going to start with just a quick video here and share my screen. And then I'm going to get into a little bit of a deeper dive about what Triple P and the positive parenting, positive education program are all about.
In it together, how communities can support parents to help children thrive. when all parents can get the resources and services that help them be the best parents they can be. Children win, parents win, and communities win. Join us on this journey. Parenting has its ups and its downs. Parents are their child's first teacher, building the skills kids need to be successful adults. All parents need help from time to time. Community organizations are crucial partners in making sure parents have what they need. Community organizations can help parents by meeting them where they are, answering questions, connecting them to programs and services, and offering services on site. Why is supporting parents important? Parents help build the skills children need to be successful adults. Evidence-based parenting support gives parents the tools they need to build the strongest foundation for future learning and development. Raising thriving, healthy children is important for all communities. Investing in supports for parents can improve academic and behavioral outcomes over the course of a child's life. When community partners are in it together to make sure that parents have the tools they need, parents can help their children grow up safe and strong, no matter what life brings. So get involved, find your place, get in it together, and let's go.
All right, get it together. Let's go. So again, we just want to kind of ground into this a little bit. Thank you so much to Leanne and Jeff and Lindsey that have already talked about some of the vision in Ohio and what we're doing together in our partnership to think about supporting and strengthening families in the state. I'm going to do a little bit more details about just the background on what the Triple P program is all about and share some information about that. And then also talk a little bit more about the positive early childhood education element that's been released recently and what we're doing with that. And then Lindsey and Kelly will both be speaking a little bit more in detail, again, about specifics here in Ohio. The Triple P program, and you've heard a little bit of reference to this, and we just saw in that video, this idea that along our parenting trajectory, and whether you are a parent yourself, I bet that pretty much everybody on this webinar has relationships with kids at some point in your life, right? You may not be parenting, but you may be an aunt or an uncle or a relative, a grandparent, you may be, a foster parent, you may just have neighbors that have children, you go to the grocery store and you see kids and families out there. And what we're really trying to do is think about, like, through the span of raising kids and the different stages and phases that kids go through, as adults that are involved in their lives and taking care of them, wanting to make sure that we make support as broadly available in a community as possible. When our model developer, Matt Sanders, developed the Triple P program many decades ago, as Lindsey mentioned, he really became aware really quickly that if we just focus on delivering parenting support by a certain time or provider in a certain type of setting, that we were never going to be able to meet the real needs of families that have questions about parenting, that need additional support. And so we realized really quickly that if we're going to have an effective way of getting this information out there, we have to think really, really flexibly about what that looks like. And the goal of our system, it's not just one type of thing, is to really make support available at the right time, in the right place, and in the right amount for families to be able to access that support. And there's a whole bunch of different ways that we go about doing that we're going to talk a lot more about in the next hour or so. Again, the thinking about, like, how do we offer it? Who offers it? We got to think flexibly. We can't just have the same type of provider offering support to families if we're going to be able to get good information out to all families. And we need to really be open-minded about who can deliver parenting support. You never know who parents have the best relationship with, the best trusting relationship with. And so from a model perspective, we really don't emphasize background in terms of education. Lived experience is just as valuable, we know, in terms of being able to connect with others, peer support folks, being able to really share lived experience and talk about that and help each other out. And then, of course, some of the higher levels of support that families need may be delivered by folks with more professional training or backgrounds. But the idea is to have as much of a broad base in terms of who's doing that as possible in communities and being really flexible. We also know every community is different, right? Of course, every neighborhood is different. A few blocks over is different. And so really understanding who's available in a community to offer parenting support. What are the existing resources? we always talk about with Triple P that, there's a lot of good stuff about it in terms of how it's been designed. And one of the great assets, I think, is that it should never look the same way in any two communities when it's being rolled out. It's got such flexibility that the idea is to really understand what are some of the needs and gaps in what services are available. What are we missing in an area? Where are parents, not being able to access services? And how do we expand that? And usually within the Triple P system, as we find, with its flexibility and its different levels of intervention that are available, that communities can really tailor like what parts of the system, might make sense. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of that flexibility. But I think that's one of the exciting things as we look at what's happening in Ohio, is that we know this is going to be incredibly regional and really community driven in terms of the opportunities and who we're able to include into some of these efforts as we move forward with some of the different activities. And again, the idea that we just want to be as flexible as possible. Kids go through all these developmental stages, right? And so what parents need at different points, when I say parents, I absolutely mean caretakers also. What we need at different points in that trajectory really differs and depends. And so it's not a situation where you just get parenting support at one point in time and you're good to go. What we're trying to do is really reduce the stigma around reaching out for support and help, making it really easy to access parenting education and getting together with other parents or hearing from folks that you have a good relationship with, gone through it, sharing that information, again, just making it easy to fall into. So if we're thinking flexibly about a parenting program, then, as I mentioned, we've got to have different levels of intensity that we're offering parents based on what they need at different points in how they're raising their kids. So in the Triple P system, what this pyramid is demonstrating is just that we have developed different levels of support based on what parents might need. And we offer those different layers of support in either group modalities, or we can do it one-on-one with parents if they're more comfortable that way. And we'll talk a lot about the option of doing it online, which is really exciting. I'm really happy in my career of seeing, just how some of this has changed. I think there's much less stigma, and I'm really happy about that in terms of folks reaching out for support now, being curious to find out how, just better information, there's better access, easier access to information. So I think that's all getting good. But there's still, I think, some stigma attached. And even if you kind of reflect for yourself, there can still be a notion of, a parenting class or parenting education as being, something that maybe not everyone thinks that they might benefit from or need. Maybe things aren't too stressful, or, it's not that bad. But what we're trying to do, again, is flip that script a little bit to really think about just how normal it is as a parent to have questions about parenting your kid, right? So really wonder, is my infant, do all babies cry this much? Or it says my baby's sleeping this much, how come they're not, right? And I'm just I'm sleep deprived, I'm exhausted. And my toddler, the biting thing, is that normal? And then school age, is my child being bullied? Is my child the bully? Worries about that. So again, just really normalizing that as we're raising kids or we're involved in kids' lives around us, these questions are really normal. They pop up. And the more that we can be there, right time, right place, right amount, to be responsive, to offer information, to help normalize so much of what we, kind of wonder about as parents, is able to be talked about, and that there are really effective strategies that can work for parents to learn different ways of approaching it. Now, what we've seen over the years since the model was first developed, and our model developer, Professor Matt Sanders, is out of the University of Queensland in Brisbane, Australia. And he started off with this program, and like I said, realized really quickly that we're going to have to be really flexible about how this thing is delivered, and he really pulled on several different program models to think about how do we as human beings actually go about changing our behavior. And so he really pulled in developing the Triple P, program and the structure for how we do it, really pulled from a lot of different, kind of best thinking around how people are motivated to make change. If folks have any exposure to motivational interviewing, for example, a lot of it, I think, really parallels nicely to the process that we'll talk about in terms of how we promote parents to think about set goals, readiness to do that, their, interest in doing that, really being concrete about it, having it feel actionable and doable. But Matt, through the years, has worked with, not only continues to do research at the University of Queensland on the model, but now we've, got relationships with researchers in nearly 30 different countries around the world, and very different cultural, backgrounds, and real diversity in terms of where the research has happened, looking at it and, being able to see really consistently, the outcomes are that parents lower their stress, that they enjoy parenting more, that kids' behaviors improve, that everybody's social and emotional well-being seems to get better by offering effective parenting support. It's really gratifying. And of course, we have lots of great researchers here in the United States that are researching the program, including a couple of folks that recently got one of their articles published on some of the work that's been happening in Ohio with funding from the Trust to really think about during the pandemic, what were some of the outcomes in terms of parents who might be at risk for more substance use, and how was parenting support able to help with that? So lots of different researchers and evaluators curious about looking at different parts of the Triple P system in different lenses. And it's just a continuing growing body of evidence behind it. But if you're anything like me, you're like, well, who cares? That's nice. I'm glad that it worked over there or with that population or with that setting. How's it going to work with families that I work with? And when I first was introduced to Triple P during a study that was funded by the Center for Disease Control, that was one of my first questions. What is this program from Australia? How is it going to be relevant to families that I'm working with at the time in a rural county in South Carolina? I was employed at the Department of Mental Health there, working with families involved with child welfare, and just really thinking like, how is this really going to go? And was able to see firsthand for myself. And as the trial continued, we saw really incredible effect sizes with families that participated in the program. And what was interesting about that trial was that what they were looking at wasn't family level outcomes. The trial was really looking at population level outcomes, right? Really thinking about in a broad community, if we make parenting support as widely available as possible, which is what we're talking about here, can we see an impact in maltreatment rates? And the study showed that absolutely you could, that in the 9 control counties where services were just as usual, that the maltreatment rates were increasing. And in the counties where we had Triple P available, they did not increase. Some of them decreased, but they certainly did not increase, up to close to like a 30% difference in terms of the rates. So it was just really interesting to think about. We really can make a difference with this. Sometimes it's really hard to prove prevention works, but that study was really seminal in being able to demonstrate that. The link on this page, and again, we're recording this and we'll make the slides available, but the web address there is our research repository, and that study that I just referenced is available there. And I'll just share that if anybody has any questions about any of this or wants to see any of the research or learn more about that, we'll make sure that you have our contact information and follow up with that. All right, so how can a evidence-based parenting program out of Australia that's been around for a really long time now work with so many different diverse communities and families? We certainly have been seeing it in Ohio for several years now in lots of different parts of the state. But again, kind of going back to my experience and my exposure with it, what really stood out to me and what I liked about it when I first got trained and got my teams trained in it was how incredibly individually tailored it gets to be for each and every family that we're serving. So the idea is that parents are really going to be the ones to determine the goals. They get to say what it is that I want to work on. What am I motivated, again, to make change around? What questions do I have? And it doesn't have to be about necessarily stages and development for their child. It could be even just about how are they doing as a parent or caregiver. It could be my goal is around, I want to lower my stress. Great, then we're going to focus on some strategies in the program that are going to help really attend to and help you lower your stress, learn some different techniques for that. Certainly though, if parents have specific questions about behaviors that are challenging, or again, just thinking about stages and how do I manage, this whining stage? How do I manage the tantrums? How do I manage my teenager who just doesn't want to speak more than 2 words at a time? And I really don't know kind of what's going on with them. Really, again, being able to normalize that and offering parents just strategies, but we're always giving parents options. So they get a menu of choices. We are not here to be the experts on anybody's family or to tell them the right or the wrong way to parent their kids. We're really encouraging parents to be a lot more intentional about what are my values as a parent? What do I want to instill? What am I wanting to share with my kids? What's important? What do I, care about in terms of how they behave with others and interact with others? What am I modeling for my kids? Just again, being a lot more thoughtful about that. And we use what we call the self-regulatory framework, process of getting parents to think for themselves, identifying their goals, really looking at that, right? And then supporting them again from a menu of strategies. There's lots of different strategies in the program. The idea is that parents just pick maybe one or two that really make sense for them So, for example, just like we start off in a lot of in the program of just like helping parents think about what are some things you can do to strengthen your relationship with your kid. Maybe some things you've just been missing, some good opportunities to interact with your kids, put the phone down, have them put their tablet down, to like praise your kids when they're doing things that you're really proud of and you want to see more of. It's getting better attuned to paying attention to some of those things can start to make a real difference in how we're experiencing stress and how we're enjoying parenting, right? But then certainly getting into strategies that are going to help parents manage the situation more effectively, right? Feel like there's difficult behaviors, I'm responding to them, I feel confident, I've got some ideas on how I'm going to be able to handle this, right? So again, parents are picking the strategies that work for them. We're not telling them the right or the wrong way. And I think that's going back to the research, why we see it be so effective with so many different situations and so much of the research in the literature about the model. At the end of the day, it's all about that particular family in front of you. Now, of course, practitioners are really, really important in this dynamic, right? So we need to have our practitioners that go through training to deliver the program really bought into this idea that we're not there to be the experts, and also to know the program well enough to really be confident in making the strategies in the program relevant and contextual for the parent in front of us. We have some thinking about a strategy, we talk a little bit about quiet time, for example, is one of the strategies with younger kids. And depending on the context of how I'm parenting, am I living in an apartment with several extended family members and there's not a lot of space to kind of, have our own area where we can just, talk one-on-one, or we pretty often surrounded by a lot of people in our environment? Or, are we in a home where a child has their own bedroom and we can think about that? We're really knowing how do we tailor the strategies that we're talking to parents about in a way that is really going to work for their situation, that we really understand what's going on for them. And that's why our, trained practitioners are so important in helping parents put together their plans and really have it feel tailored. Now, another thing, in addition to thinking about self-regulation that we really value as a model, is this idea of what's minimally sufficient, right? So this is, again, why we have such flexibility in how we've developed the program to have different levels of intervention. We really want to make sure that parents, right time, right amount, right place. That right amount is really important to think about, minimally sufficient. So the idea being that we really trust parents to get what they need, right? And that if they don't necessarily complete all levels of the program offering, but they got enough help, make enough change in the moment to feel a little bit better about things, great. We think that's a great success, with the idea of come back as many times as you need to, as often as you need to, get more support. Again, just trying to be as flexible as we can to make it available. A few years back now, we're just still, I think, in the very early stages of really disseminating positive childhood education. But we had so many of our practitioners and partners that work in early childcare settings really wanting to be able to tailor and extend the strategies that have been so effective in helping parents be more confident. Really wanting to think about how can we introduce these same strategies that are effective homes into early childhood settings, right? So thinking about child care centers and family-based care providers, what can we do to get the Triple P strategies out there? So some colleagues developed the positive early childhood education, building on many of the same strategies that are in the Triple P program, but adding in some additional ones and making some tweaks in terms of what it's like to have a whole group of kids in a room versus maybe a couple of kids, and really being able to, kind of enhance those strategies to be relative and relevant in that context. And so what we've developed is, in the positive early childhood education, a program that we have seen in early evaluations really promote better positivity between early childhood educators and the kids that they're caring for. We've seen improvement in being able to promote kids' early learning and just being more independent. We have also been able to see, educators, and we did a pilot that Kelly will speak to in a little bit in Ohio, where just, it doesn't really matter what we were finding in terms of how many years educators have been in the field. It really, it may be a refresher, it may be a good aha, but it's good content that just gets you kind of thinking again about your particular class. What are your goals? So there's an online course that is available to educators now in the state, and we're continuing to promote that in early days, but really excited about getting the word out there. So we've got an online course that's available that any educator or anyone that's working in early childhood services in the state, and you're on Okra, you can go and register and take that course. And we're going to show you the website a little bit later and how to do that. So more information on that a little bit later on. But this online course 4 modules, 22 strategies. It takes about an hour a module to get through it. And it's really interactive. We'll talk about this with the Triple P for parents as well with online. You set your own goals. You really figure out what it is that you want to work on, right? You have your own goals in mind for changes that you want to see. Could be changes in things that you want to do in that setting. Or again, it could be really focused on some behaviors that are really challenging that you're trying to think of different approaches or strategies for. We're really excited to be making this available. We know the impact of the pandemic, what it meant for this workforce that's already such a spread thin kind of workforce, right? In terms of wages, and as much as it's rewarding to be around young kids and be an influencer and be a part of their lives and how gratifying that can be, it's also a stressful job. And we know there's been staffing issues and workforce issues and the pandemic and centers being opened and closed and trying to manage social distancing and all those things with little bodies and masks and whatnot. It's just been a rough couple of years for sure. And so it's really exciting to know that we're going to really be focusing on offering additional professional development for folks that are interested, and that it's free and credit hours go along with it. And then there's also optional coaching that's available. Again, we'll speak a little bit more about that a little bit later on and talk more about how to access that. All right, and with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Lindsey.
Hello, I am just trying to answer a couple of the questions in the chat and multitask. I know we're leaving it to the end. We've had several of you ask for the link, so I am sharing that in the Q&A right now, and we'll be walking through that website in a little bit. The website is live now. So if parents are looking to access this online resource, they can actually even just Google Triple P, click the first thing that comes up, and it's going to automatically direct them to Ohio's Triple P website. So we'll explore that here in a little bit. I did want to just take some time to talk about kind of what we're doing in Ohio, how this has all come about. And I just want to start with kind of saying, as Courtney had shared, Triple P is a system of evidence-based education and supports for parents and caregivers of children and adolescents. With all of the different modules and the different levels, it can be tailored to meet parents and unique needs. And we all know that all children are different. All children have unique needs. I believe one of the questions in the chat that I saw come up was, does Triple P have a program for children with special needs? They do have a program called Stepping Stones, which is tailored to parents of children with a disability. So while, parenting is not one size fits all, I think Triple P recognizes that. And that is why there are different levels and different ways to access the positive parenting strategies. We've been funding Triple P through the Trust Fund for a number of years. And we had actually become interested in the online program a couple of years ago. Myself and one of my colleagues were at the Prevent Child Abuse America conference. So the Trust Fund, we are Ohio's chapter of Prevent Child Abuse America. And there we had the opportunity to talk with some colleagues from North Carolina, and they were sharing how they were working with Triple P to do this real public health approach to prevention by providing the online parent education resources broadly to parents in their state. And so we were really excited about that model and have been thinking about it, as Leanne said earlier, for several years now in Ohio. And with the receipt of some American Rescue Plan Act funding, multiple program areas within ODJFS have been able to come together to collaborate to build this layered approach. And so we're starting where we are at, and we are going to continue to be building and kind of expanding and building capacity as we go. We aren't going to have everything stood up at once, but that's okay. And that is part of the awesomeness of Triple P is that we can kind of start where we're at and build that up to support families. Okay, so why Triple P? This program, it promotes children's social, emotional, developmental, and behavioral health. And it does that through working with the parents. So it's teaching parents, the knowledge, the skills, the strategies that they need to have confidence in their parenting to meet their child's needs. And by doing that, something we talk about a lot at the Trust Fund in a lot of our programming is focused around the protective factors. And so one of the protective factors is knowledge of parenting and child development. And protective factors are things that essentially just help parents to be able to enhance their capacity to protect their children, to get along well in the community. So of course we said knowledge of parenting and child development. We also, another protective factor is parental resiliency. So their ability to bounce back when faced with challenges. Social connection. So that's their ability to meet others within their community and build those connections that are so vital to us as parents and having that support. And then social emotional competency of youth is another protective factor, and Triple P helps to meet that protective factor through their proven strategies. And the fifth protective factor, just since I went through the rest of the list, is concrete supports in times of need. But through Triple P, parents are able to learn these strategies and begin to increase those protective factors. And it helps to reduce the incidence of child maltreatment within the community. And parents, as they are building upon their own strengths and abilities, they're learning to be self-sufficient as a parent. They're learning to, be self-aware. They're learning to be able to be assertive for themselves and for their children, and to be self-reflective in their parenting. Okay, so this slide is really just a good visual for you all about how we are bringing together all of these different components of Triple P to be able to meet families where they are at. So meeting parents and caregivers where they are at is so important, because parents are truly the best experts on their children, right? They are going to know what strategies are going to work best for them as parents based off of their lifestyle, their family's unique needs, and they're going to know their children best. They're going to know, kind of what those challenges are, and those areas that their kiddos could use some extra support through their parenting strategies. So of course, we've been talking a lot about the online Triple P implementation. And so this is kind of a level 4 program, which we'll kind of talk a little bit about the different levels of Triple P here in a few minutes. But we have purchased 10,000 online codes that are all loaded and available. And then actually in another year, there's going to be an additional 10,000 codes available. And these will be able to be accessed by any parent or caregiver in Ohio. And this is what we call a universal prevention strategy, because this is truly a public health approach. It's truly anybody, anywhere can access this. And they don't need to even really go through a provider to access this. This actually, we have some geocoding stuff set up where if I am, in my hometown and I'm searching my child's having temper tantrums, support for temper tantrums, I may get up in my, search and may come back to me, Triple P online, and then they would be I'd be directed maybe to a good article about child temper tantrums and be offered that free resource from there. But you can also provide this information to families in your community or families that you work with every day, just by directing them to that online web page. And we're actually, as we kind of start to promote this a little bit more, we are going to try to get out some more information. We are working with Triple P on putting together kind of these we're calling them parent access cards. Really, you don't even need the cards to access this. You could go on and access this today, but it's just kind of something tangible that providers would be able to distribute to families as a reminder that this service is available. So we have lots of stuff going on with the Triple P Online. We have our regional providers. And so, like I said, the trust fund's been funding Triple P for a number of years. Most of our Triple P programs are funded through our regional prevention councils. We have 8 regional prevention councils across the state. They all, every county their county commissioners can appoint up to 2 individuals to sit on this regional prevention council. And our trust fund board directs funding at the local level, and then they can select what strategies they feel like they want to implement at the local level and support with that funding to meet the needs that have been identified for their region. So through that approach, we are already funding level 2, 3, and 4 of Triple P throughout Ohio. And this kind of, provides support for both that primary universal prevention population, but also that secondary population. So these are families that may have some risk factors and that have been identified as needing those special supports. And then with, as Jeff had talked about earlier, with our Family First Prevention Services Act funding through scaling up phase 2 of that work, we are really working to build capacity for our Triple P providers in Ohio. And Triple P level 4. So essentially, and I'm going to just long story short, because I don't know all of the ins and outs of this, but with FFPSA funding, there are evidence-based strategies and approaches that can be used and be reimbursed through FFPSA, but they have to be approved. Well, Triple P level 4 is one of those kind of approved strategies for FFPSA, and that is really working with kind of that tertiary population. So this may be a family that has come to the attention of Children's Services. Maybe they have had an open case. Maybe it's a family in need of services case. And they are going to be able to receive services through Triple P as well. So we're trying to build up capacity for those providers. Triple P Online is a level 4, so that kind of fits nicely under FFPSA, but some of those other ways of delivering Triple P positive parent education also fall under that. And then we are with our JFS, Office of Families Assistance, Bureau of Child Care, and in partnership with Ohio Child Care Resource and Referral Association, are working on the PEACE program. So this is when we say Triple P, PEACE is actually a separate program, but it's based off of all of the evidence-based Triple P. And so it is actually, that 12-session training program, as Courtney had explained, that will support those early child care educators in delivering Triple P strategies with children in their classroom. So through this kind of layered approach, we are really working to allow any parents, make accessible for any parents across the state, this programming, of course, with the goals of strengthening families and enhancing well-being for all of our families and children across Ohio. Okay. And this slide is a visual, and it goes a little bit more into the different levels of Triple P. So when you are first being introduced to Triple P, it can be a little bit confusing because you're like, is it a program? Is it a framework? What is Triple P? What are these levels? And essentially there's 5 levels of Triple P, and within each level there are different kind of modalities for implementing this content. And so that is how we are able to meet families where they're at and kind of match their needs. So level 1, which isn't even on this slide, is kind of that universal awareness campaign. So in our partnership with Triple P and in working with them, you all may be on your social media platforms, or you may be all watching a streaming service from home, and you might see some advertisements for Triple P and how parents can access free Triple P in Ohio. And so part of that is that just that awareness campaign, and that's that level 1. And depending on kind of what those advertisements are, the parents may be directed to an article on the website. We'll kind of look at this in a few minutes, but where they might be able to access some content about a specific challenge that they're having parenting. So that's all kind of that universal level 1. Level 2 is what we call a light touch intervention. And so this might be a one-time assistance to parents, or providing information to parents that they just want some general information about their child's development or behaviors that they're experiencing. So this could be delivered as a seminar series. So for example, employers could offer a seminar series to their staff on different Triple P topics. It could be a brief consultation, a 15 to 30 minute one-time consultation, just kind of having that conversation about a specific issue that could be provided, potentially through a provider, or even through, like a pediatrician or some other public agency. Level 3 is targeted on more specific topics of interest to parents. So maybe it's around, bedtime routines, or maybe it is around temper tantrums, or navigating going to the grocery store with your child, things like that. And this can be delivered as parent consultations in up to 4 consultations of 15 to 30 minutes. So oftentimes you might see this, within maybe like a health clinic, maybe within your doctor's office. This may be a home visitor providing these consultations. And then another modality for level 3 is discussion groups. So these are where parents would come together and have discussions. They would be delivered some of the Triple P content, but they'd also be able to have some discussions with each other about that content. Level 4 is for parents with children that are experiencing moderate to severe behavioral challenges. And this is usually parents who are motivated in really getting a more in-depth understanding of their child's development, learning how to kind of solve a problem that they're experiencing on the day-to-day. And really it's about building their confidence as a parent. This can be delivered in group sessions. This can also be delivered in Triple P level 4 standard, which is essentially kind of like a classroom where you're going through this series of classroom topics. And then this is also what is delivered. This is also the content. This is also the level of instruction that is delivered through our Triple P online. So when parents go to the Triple P online website, this is the level of support they will be getting. And then level 5 is more intensive support for families. And these are families with more complex concerns. So a lot of times this may be parents who have completed a level 4 standard program or group program before, but may need some additional help. So the Pathways program helps parents recognize and change like negative thought patterns, unhelpful thinking, for themselves, as well as strategies for effectively managing kind of their anger and their stress around parenting. So through kind of this broad array of different levels, everything from those lighter touches to those more intensive challenges, is available. And Triple P is really also broken down into, content for parents of children 0 through 12, and then content for parents of older children as well. And so Maybe when you're a parent of, when you're a parent of a newborn or even a toddler, you're going to have some, different parenting needs than the parent, and need some different parenting supports than a parent of maybe a preteen or an adolescent. And so that is, just part of the beauty of Triple P is that you can really tailor the approach and the content to meet parents where they're at. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly to share with us a little bit about the piecework going on in Ohio.
Good afternoon. I'm going to talk about the PEACE program as Lindsey and Courtney has kind of talked about. And so let's talk about what is PEACE. It really is an educational training to align with Triple P. As you can see, we're doing it through hubs. Most of you know us as OKRA. So you'll hear that acronym instead of trying to say it all out. I am part of OKRA. And so my hubs will be able to go into child care centers and family home providers. I must emphasize that because we've gotten in trouble for not including them. So they can then go in and do self-training. And those who are step up to quality 2 or below will get $100 as an initiative. The educator will. I will talk about when I talk about coaching, what those benefits they also get. But somebody asked in the chat about they couldn't find it on OKRA. When we show the website, Triple P Ohio website, will also show you where you can get it from that website. But if you're on your OKRA OPR, you can then just simply go in and when you're looking for a training, type in PEACE, no date, no time, and it will pop up and then you can register that way. We're also doing coaching, in-person coaching after an educator has done their 4 hours. We've had about 50 coaches, almost 60 coaches trained that can then do some coaching. They'll come out and watch and kind of observe the educator, and then there'll be some discussion around that. For every coaching session that is provided, we will give the center $200. The R&Rs who also refer an educator will also receive $100. So there's some initiative for those centers and family home centers that are stepped up quality or below, but we're encouraging everybody because then as educators can then encourage their parents to get on and do Triple P. So if you have, we'll probably do some more conversation around PEACE at some point, but right now we're going to focus on Triple P. Thanks.
Thanks, Kelly. Okay, so next we're going to keep talking about this statewide website. And while the Triple P online is a key component of this website, we are also, there's also a find a provider search on this website. And so parents can self-register for Triple P online programming, but they can also find local providers if they would prefer to go to a group session or a seminar or even do a Triple P standard class. And they can do that on the Find a Provider tab, and they can just put in their zip code and it will pull up all of that information. Additionally, if you are a Triple P provider and watching this webinar, you will be able to go in and add your services and your offerings on our Triple P Ohio site so families can easily find you as well. There we go. Thanks, Courtney. And so a little bit more about the Triple P online. I think somebody had asked this question and it was answered in the chat. We are making available the 0 to 12 and the teen versions, and they are available in both English and Spanish. So when parents go to register, they will have the option of doing 0 to 12 or doing teen, and then they can choose which language best supports them. And then I had talked a little bit earlier about the level 1 Triple P, and that's that tailored communications campaign promoting the availability throughout Ohio. So the approaches include digital media. So that's where social media, search platforms, you're going to be able to find our Ohio website. There's also going to be some traditional media available. So if anyone is wanting, flyers or being able to access a poster, to print a poster and hang in your organization, you guys can reach out to us and we can connect you with those assets, to those print materials as well. And then we also are going to be doing some public relations and awareness activities. These are just being planned a little bit more. You're probably going to see a bump in some of this around probably mid-August, right around the time we're going back to school. Kids have been home for a couple months. Parents maybe are starting to feel the stress. So we thought that would be a good time to kind of ramp up some of those awareness activities. Workshops and webinars are going to be available for our network of providers. So, like I said, we've been working with Courtney for a long time, and she has shared with us, part of her job is just having these continual conversations with providers about what's available, how to support. So we are going to definitely be offering additional webinars that will help support providers that are interested in implementing Triple P, PEACE, any of this type of work. And then at the state level, we have access to the Triple P dashboard. So essentially, so you can refer parents and they can just go to the website and access their free code and begin this online program. If you're a provider and you're like, I'd really like to be able to give these codes to parents and then kind of track them and provide support and know what parents that I've preferred that I've referred that are going through this program, we also have the ability to kind of assign like banks of codes to different provider agencies that they would then be able to track and provide that additional support to parents. So this is how parents are going to access the Triple P online. So again, I feel like we've talked about this a lot, but I wanted to have it in a separate slide as well. So obviously through that tailored communications campaign, when they're looking for advice on Google, when they're searching social media, potentially email, we do email outreach directed to parents. We may have some, print media available. You might see public service announcements on radio and television, and all of those efforts will direct interested folks to the Triple P website where they can potentially read an article or a blog post around their topic of interest and access a free code for the online program. As an organization that is serving families, we want to be able to equip organizations that are currently serving families with the ability to support Triple P. So if you are a community provider agency, you are interested in adding Triple P to your suite of services that you're offering to families, we're providing the support for that. But then you also can access, those codes either by directing families to the website or, potentially requesting a bank of codes. I think I mentioned earlier, and I don't have a template or anything for it to show you guys, but Triple P's communications group has been working with us, and they developed these really nice, I think we're calling them referral cards, but it's just like a little, like almost like a business size card with a QR code that says, Triple P, free in Ohio, and it comes with a nice letter. And that, we can distribute maybe to a school or maybe to a local health department or something like that, that they can just actually physically hand something to their parents, letting them know where they can go to access this resource. And then, of course, word of mouth referrals. We are so excited to have so many of you guys on this webinar today. And we, hope that through your word of mouth referrals, that we can help get parents to the website. And then we're also, hoping that as parents begin to access this resource and find it really helpful, that they are then, talking about it with their friends, their neighbors, children, parents of their children's classmates, to be able to direct them to this resource. Okay, and so one thing that we quickly realized, so Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus has been a big partner to us with Triple P efforts in Ohio for a number of years, and many other providers as well. But Nationwide has actually, piloted a little bit of the Triple P online last year. And so something that they had found really, really helpful in their approach was providing this telehealth support to parents. So, if a parent stumbled across a code or was given a code and is working through this program online, that it's helpful to have the parent have someone that they can reach out to with questions, maybe do a few of those brief consultations related to what they are learning. And so in addition to that, that's kind of one bucket, providing that telehealth piece. Another bucket is really being able to support new providers. So as we're building capacity for this evidence-based programming, we also need to build our workforce. We need to get more community providers trained in Triple P. Well, as a new practitioner practicing Triple P. So I've been through the Triple P training, but I've never practiced it with a parent. And so I think I would be nervous even after the wonderful, training that Triple P does, and how well to fidelity all of their training programs are, to go out and then begin to implement that and to be the professional working with a parent. So the other piece is we said, well, so we really need this coaching, this kind of coaching and supporting practitioners model. And so we're really looking at, how can we bring together a network of our Triple P providers across the state. Probably a lot of this will happen virtually. We're still kind of planning for this. So this is all stuff that is going to be ramping up over the course of the next year. But so that providers are able to come to a learning collaborative and kind of discuss any challenges that they're having with implementation, or, working with families through the program, getting participants to come into the program, all of those kind of things. So through kind of that dual approach, we're going to start to be able to hopefully work with kind of certain providers in certain areas of the state that can help to be those like regionalized champions. Kelly talked about the hubs and the hub approach that we're implementing in Ohio, but like being able to have local providers that can really start to be the expert and to help kind of promote and direct families to the resources available. Okay. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, Triple P has been under ongoing research and evaluation for over 35 years. It is a very well-researched, evidence-based program. What we want to know in Ohio is kind of how is this approach working with our families, with our parents, with our caregivers in Ohio. So we are going to be partnering with the Ohio State University and University of Michigan to do some evaluation. Now on this slide, you'll see the PEACE program and the TPOL, the Triple P Online program listed. Efforts for evaluation for both of these programs are planning for evaluation are already underway. And really what we want to know is kind of what impacts are we having with families, and how are different patterns of participation in these programs, may be associated with the likelihood or dislikelihood to come to the attention of the formal child welfare system. Also, when you think in terms of parenting outcomes, and then on the peace side, when you think in terms of satisfaction with those trainings, their ability to work with coaches, implement these strategies in their learning environments. So all of that's underway. But additionally, we've also talked about kind of this FFPSA tertiary population as well. And so we're just at the beginning stages of looking at what that piece of evaluation will look like. So we're going to be kind of covering evaluation across the continuum of programs we're implementing. Okay, so we've talked about capacity building. So with capacity building, what I really mean by that is we are investing in Triple P facilitator trainings. So we are making Triple P facilitator trainings, which, obviously, we say we're making them available free of cost. There obviously is a cost to us, just like with the Triple P online codes. So it's free of cost to parents in Ohio because that's being fully funded by the trust fund in partnership with JFS. And with the same with the facilitator training. So we are offering these free of charge to providers that are trying to build capacity, or providers that are trying to add Triple P to their suite of service offering, but there is a charge to us to do that. So we're hoping that anyone that registers and goes through these trainings actually intends to implement the programs. But if you are watching this and you are a provider agency, a community-based agency partner, and you are interested in accessing the training, we went through one set of training probably over the last few months, and we're going to be planning for some additional facilitator trainings in the next year. You can contact us and the email's on this slide, octf@octf.ohio.gov. Request information about that, get on our wait list for trainings as we begin to get those scheduled. Okay, so now's the fun part where I get to try to share my screen. We did want to just take a few minutes and give you the tour of the website. So let's see here, share screen. So this is our Triple P website. So when a family comes to this website, so you Google Triple P, you land here, or you use one of those QR codes, you're going to land on this page. You're going to know it's the Ohio site because up in the URL, it is triplepparenting.com, and then you see the OH for Ohio, and you see the EN for English. So if you actually, wanted to access the Spanish version of the site, you can click here and you can toggle between Espanol and English. You can also see where I have this little location. So this is showing that I'm in Columbus. And if I wanted to search for providers in a different area, or if I wanted, the site to recognize I'm in a different location, you can add your zip code and change that location here. Now, if I'm a parent and I'm returning to this site to pick up on a course that I've already started, I'm going to click here where it says already started Triple P. And then I'm going to indicate if I'm doing the 0 to 12 program or the teen program, and then I would log back in. So, maybe a parent might log in and get through module 1 and part of module 2. And then, it's time for bath and bed and all that stuff with their kiddos. So they log off, they'll be able to pick that back up next time they come to this site. You're going to see here, actually, let's scroll down this page a little bit first, and then we'll come back to kind of these tabs. So the first thing parents are going to see, of course, is making the most of these crucial years. And they're going to see that link to register for the free course. So if you click that link, it's going to drop you down here. So this is, see how it just drops you down here. And this is where you can register now for that class. Down here, it's going to talk about a little bit about why parents might want to do Triple P, topics that they might be interested in reading more about. And then down here, you know, this is their Triple P Online, Teen Triple P Online, the support near you. So this is where if you want to find an in-person session or a provider, parents will be able to search here for that information. As you scroll down, you have some testimonials from parents, and we're going to be working to get some testimonials specific from Ohio parents to have both on here and through some of our promotions for Triple P. And then here is just a contact, how you can reach out to them. You can see here, these are the agency logos that are supporting this initiative. But one thing that I really wanted to highlight is down here is where you're going to see this for Early Educators Peace Program. So if you click on this, and I'm going to open it in a new tab here, this will take you to the landing page for Peace in Ohio. You could go directly to that page, but if you, you know, don't have that link, or maybe if a provider is on the main Triple P page in Ohio, they can just scroll down, come right here, and then on the Peace page, they can learn about the program, and you can come all the way down here where they can click register now, and you'll be taken to the Okra site to register. If you want to request Peace coaching, you can fill out that request down here as well. And then down here are some of these other links that are on both pages. This link is for trained Triple P providers. So when you become a Triple P provider, you get access to a lot of their resources for providers. There's a special login to access those resources, and this just links to that page. And then there's a page for government and agencies that is essentially if you're interested in, you know, kind of doing what we're doing and investing in this program throughout Ohio. Okay, so I'm going to scroll back to the top. So where it says about Triple P. So there's just some things on here, some general things. If you want to learn more about, you know, Triple P, why is it proven to work, kind of the history of it, you can find that here. You know, FAQs, under topics, this is where you're going to find some of those topical things. So when I was talking to you guys earlier, let's go to tantrums. So when I was talking to you earlier, maybe I'm online and I am searching how to, you know, deal with it when my toddler has tantrums. So maybe, you know, my ad comes up for Triple P. It takes me to this page. So it's going to give me, you know, some immediate answers to my questions as a parent about tantrums and childhood meltdowns, right? So this is great information. I'm reading it. And then it goes, oh, well, you know, it's not always easy to know how to handle this. So then as you scroll down, then it says, would you like to link back and start this online program? So sometimes when families come to our Triple P Ohio site, they're not always coming to this main page here, but they might be coming in on one of those topic pages. Same with the blogs. Well, there's some blogs available here as well. So that's just kind of the high level overview of what's available to you and to parents on this website. So now I'm going to see if I can stop sharing my screen and let Courtney, let's see, oh, this is new share, hold on a second. Stop share. So now I think Courtney will be able to take us back to our slide deck.
Great, thanks, Lindsay. And actually, I'm going to take us right to the In It Together, another video.
So, yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to show just another video really quickly here. we started with the first video, just kind of thinking about like the basis for why do we even want to think about parenting support. So often that's kind of relegated to, kind of a certain thing that's happening over here by these certain types of provider folks for these certain types of parents. And hopefully over the course of what we've been talking about, we're expanding everybody's, kind of sense about this. We all have a stake in this, right? And just as flexible as we can be with this. We're going to show another quick clip here that just kind of picks up on that idea about what, different roles we can all have in being in it together, being supportive to families.
In it together, how communities can support parents to help children thrive. When all parents can get the resources and services that help them be the best parents they can be, children win, parents win, and communities win. Join us on this journey. Ensuring that kids have what they need to grow up safe and strong isn't just a job for parents. Community partners play a role in making sure parents are equipped with the tools they need to raise healthy, thriving children. And when parents have what they need, the whole community benefits. Whatever its mission, every community organization can contribute to supporting parents, offering parenting resources and services when and where parents need it, in locations like their library, community center, nearby park, place of worship, and workplace, makes it easier and more comfortable for parents to find support. Healthcare providers can answer parents' questions in the moment and connect them to more in-depth support when needed, reducing the need for more specialized care and also helping to prevent chronic health conditions that are linked to adverse childhood events. Early childhood and school settings can host parenting workshops and help parents on how best to support their child's school success, leading to greater parent engagement and improved academic achievement. Having parenting resources and services embedded across the community means that if families need more specialized services, organizations can make knowledgeable referrals to others in the community who can work with them. Every community organization has a role to play in making sure families have the tools and resources they need to raise a confident, competent next generation. So get involved, find your place, get in it together, and let's go.
Okay, I love that video. Sorry, go ahead, Courtney. I didn't know if this was slide or mine.
No, you're good, Lindsay. Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, I do, and hopefully it is, kind of motivating, and just what we really want to emphasize for everybody that's participating today. Some of you may already be agencies that are providing Triple P, and that's fantastic. So many familiar names on the participant list. And some of you may be just really trying to get your head around what this whole thing's about and what the opportunities are. As we've been mentioning throughout, we just are really hoping to get more folks involved in spreading the word about all of this. And again, thinking about yourself and the opportunities you have to interact with kids in your life, right? So really being able to think about, is there a role for you to help advocate for more access and promoting this? Encouraging you, again, like maybe you just have neighbors that have kids. Maybe you like your kid's neighbor, your neighbor's kids, maybe you don't like them. But being familiar with the resources, so you can talk to them about it, encourage them about it, taking the online course yourself, just to understand what it's about. Signing up for a session if you're interested in finding out more about it. There's the seminars that are just really brief and just lots of good ideas about promoting positive behavior for kids, again, by different age ranges and different age groups to think about. We're going to have all these promotional materials, as Lindsay's referenced, that will be clean and make available so that we can, help spread the word. And not only will there be a formal campaign where there will be a lot of stuff that'll be kind of pushed out into communities and made available, but also just it's so important, the referral connection, right? And the word of mouth that can happen with you all and the work that you're doing, and being able to just share some of these resources with families and talk about it. So we'll have different, tiles, things you can put on your website. We had a question earlier, can we, link to this website from our website? Please, absolutely do. And the more that we can normalize it, make it available, get it out there, the better. And what we find in a lot of communities where Triple P is made broadly available is because of the flexibility and because we can have lots of different people involved in, delivering it, to offering it to different options for different families that have different needs at different times. You really find that it can strengthen the partnerships of agencies that maybe haven't had some mystery a little bit to kind of who does what and what does your shop do and what does my shop do. Because of the flexibility and the way that Triple P can be something that is, different folks can have access to, we see it really strengthen some of those networks. And, like just being able to be more clear about what other resources are there for families. Seminars can be a great place to make parents aware of other resources, not just other parenting supports, but what are other resources available in our community? And what are other parenting supports? We know it's not just Triple P, there's a lot of great evidence-based programs happening in the state. And so again, we just really want to make sure we've got that robust menu, but if parents need support, they feel like they can access it. So it really is kind of the end in terms of our slides. We want to encourage you all to get involved, to be in touch with us, to share information with others. But now we're going to go ahead. I know we've got some additional questions that come in the Q&A in the last few minutes, that we'll get to those. And then just really want to open it up. I'll ask our other panelists to come back on. We're going to just open it up and really hear what everybody else, any comments, reflections, questions that folks might have with us, and we'll start to just kind of tackle the remaining questions in the Q&A here.
All righty, so a question we have: as a county with a robust Triple P program, we would love to be able to offer support to parents participating in the T-POL and the TT-POL in our counties. Will there be a way for us to gain access to contact info to be able to follow up with Knox County parents?
Knox County, all right, you do have a robust Triple P offering. That's awesome. Yes, the answer is yes. That's a short, quick answer. And the details and the process for all that are things that we'll be engaged with, kind of thinking through as we roll this out. But we will have, when parents register for the course, we're going to ask them, we'll have their name, their email, their zip code, and the county that they reside in. And so we hope between zip code and county that then we can just also be aware of how we connect them to any additional local resources that may be available and what part of the state they're in. So more details about those really concrete logistics come, but that is the plan, absolutely. And then as Lindsey was mentioning, we also are going to be working with Nationwide and the team there to offer support. So if a parent's in an area where they don't have an awesome network of providers already very well versed in the model, then they can still get access to having that support. Lindsey, did you want to say more about that?
I would just say, Susan, if you want to reach out to us, just email us, octf@octf.ohio.gov, and we can connect on this. I know you guys do have a very robust Triple P program. We're still, we're just going to kind of be learning some of this together as we go, in terms of, whether we're going to be assigning some of the codes to an agency so that they can distribute and kind of track parents, or what that all is going to kind of look like. And it'll probably just be a learning process together. So if you reach out, we can kind of connect on that and figure out a strategy for your county.
All right, Barbara, I don't want to mess up your last name, so I'm not going to try. Are parents who have an open case with Children Protective Services or have a history of a substantiated case of abuse or neglect of a child eligible to receive an access code to the Triple P online?
Fantastic question. It sounds like Barbara has worked with the trust fund before, because we have a very specific statute, kind of how we are able to fund families and make families eligible. But actually, Barbara, the answer is yes. And so as a universal approach, any parent can go online and access a free code. So there is going to be no checks, no question when they go to register for the online Triple P, asking them if they, have ever had a history with their children's services system. And as we are also coordinating with our Family First Prevention Services Act funding, Family First Prevention Services Act is, funding Triple P for parents very specifically in that tertiary kind of prevention space. And so as we are kind of thinking through what, an evaluation for all of those pieces look like, at some point, we're going to reach a point where maybe, if you are a public children's services agency, which, right now, again, it's universal, you can send parents to the website, don't feel like you can't do that. But we, it might get to the point that we say, okay, well, we're going to give X bank of codes, because we're going to track these parents that we know have had a history of involvement, because maybe we want to see what their impacts and outcomes are in comparison to this broader population. So the answer is yes, they can. And at some point in the future, we may tailor that a little bit more to have them get their code in a certain way. But for right now, it's open to everybody.
Yeah, I'll just add to that really quickly, Lindsay. Sorry, Kelly. But, the Triple P online course is, as we were talking earlier about the Family First Prevention Services Act, it is on the supported list in terms of interventions for that act. And so I think it's still super really early days, not only for the act, to be in effect and states to have their plans, also just in terms of thinking about the flexibility and how we could use the online course with this, kind of population in mind. So lots of cool opportunities. I think we're going to pilot a couple of things here and there, and we just hope to have a lot of different discussions about, again, how do we make it relevant? How do we make it, tailored? How does it seem to work in different contexts? So really excited about some of the opportunities ahead with that.
Elizabeth would like to know if their organization wanted to get staff or their program trained in the model, not just coaching, would that be available and included in this expansion in Ohio?
So we are planning for another round of training offerings for Triple P providers. So if you are interested in getting trained as or providing that service, we would have you email us at octf.octf.ohio.gov, and we will be able to put you on a wait list for the next set of trainings that we are planning with Triple P. One of the things that we are, asking as we are trying to kind of bolster providers in the state is we really want to make sure that the folks that we're training are going to be intentional about being a local level provider and implementing the program, because we are offering this program and offering this training to providers free as cost to the extent that we can. We are trying to really also target that on two agencies that are then going to be actually providing services to parents. So the answer is yes.
Rebecca would like the link for parents with children with disabilities.
And so with parents that have children with disabilities, there is a specific program within the Triple P structure called Stepping Stones, which I believe is offered at level 3 and level 4 for parents that have children that have disabilities. So that is something that we have funded a couple times in Ohio, but we would have to link you to a provider that provides that offering. And Courtney, I don't know if you want to add anything else.
I'll just say we did just recently have another group of folks around the state go through some of that Stepping Stones content and get trained in some of those different modalities for delivering that content with families. And, the research shows really good with, parents with different abilities with their kids that may have a disability, also children that may be on the autism spectrum. And we do refer to that as stepping stones. So as we previewed that, kind of find a provider on the website earlier that Lindsay was showing us, as we start to get some of our providers that have recently trained in that program and promoting their services depending on what's available and whatnot, that'll be a good place to kind of keep looking for what to refer parents to and what is available in your area. And then as we continue to expand and have additional trainings and recruitment, I think part of the eye on that will be looking at where do we need more capacity, where are we kind of looking at in terms of readiness and who wants to be a part of this and offering this, and how are we trying to best meet needs as we put together those training plans that are going to continue. So yeah, just kind of keep an eye on that provider site, like find a provider and look for things there. And then we're hoping again, like this is an ongoing conversation with everybody, so we can really understand what the interests are, what the needs are, where the gaps are, and hope to respond accordingly.
Liz is a family resource coordinator, and how would she be able to do parent sessions at the school, and would she be able to get some of the cards to give to parents?
So to do the parent sessions, I don't know if you're talking like level 2, level 3, that would be training. So if you wanted to be trained in that, then you would email us the OCTF at octf.ohio.gov, and we can get you on the list for that. With the parent cards, we are in the process of getting those finalized and printed and all of that information. So I would also send an email to us with that request and approximately how many cards you think you would like. And then that way we are going to start putting together a list as we get those requests so that we'll be able to get those out to schools, organizations to be able to distribute.
Aaron,
real quick, Kelly, sorry, I'm going to add one more thing. I'm sorry, just jumping in. But just another thought with that, again, going back to just online in the interim, right? Because like maybe you don't want to wait for training and you want to be able to do some more stuff with families and get them through this. As Lindsey mentioned, we are going to run several webinars just for anybody that might want to coach parents that are taking the online. So while we're going to build some capacity very intentionally in the system to respond to parents more formally that want it, that seek it out, anybody in Ohio that wants to be able to offer additional support to parents and coaching through the online, we're going to run some webinars to just, so that you don't necessarily have to get trained in Triple P if maybe you don't have capacity to, go through training or deliver one of the other modalities. You might have time for 10-minute check-ins with parents who are taken online. We will be offering webinars to really help kind of upskill folks and what that coaching can look like. So just know that that's also on the horizon, coming soon. Stay tuned. Thanks, Kelly.
Aaron, what are the steps, costs, and time commitments to become a provider?
So we are offering another series of trainings to help build capacity, and the ones that are funded by the trust fund are free of cost because we're paying that cost. But to do that independently, it really depends, on the level and if your organization is sponsoring a whole class or if you're going to have kind of an individual seat or spot in that training. So I'm going to kind of defer to Courtney to help answer that as well.
Yeah, I'll just kind of give a range, and then again, resources to just really somebody interested in any more information about any of this stuff, or to understand costs better, to understand what it really is involved and entailed in terms of getting trained, providing it, the different options. But roughly, the cost per individual to go through a Triple P course is going to be anywhere from around $1,600 to about $2,600, depending on the course. And, that cost can be lower if we've got more people, that are doing that. And there's lots of flexible ways to kind of put together training plans. And again, that's totally my role. That's roughly kind of the cost for that. We are running as an organization. We promote and run trainings via Zoom all the time. So we have a schedule out between now and the end of December with all the courses that we're going to be offering just through Triple P. That's on our website. So if you're ever interested, part of my job again is getting folks connected to that, and you can sign up for it. But we also will be offering another round of training at no cost to you all as a part of what Lindsey's just describing here as well. So lots of different avenues to consider around that. And again, happy to answer more specific questions on training costs, but that's kind of the general range. I'll add that once folks get trained in the program, we want anyone that's going to deliver Triple P with families to actually have gone through training and accreditation process with our Triple P trainers, directly. We don't have a train the trainer. We really we've got a lot of fidelity in the process in terms of what folks go through to get accredited. But once you're accredited, that initial upfront cost of the training, that's, a one-time cost really. Once you're accredited, you always are going to be an accredited Triple P provider.
Elizabeth, if we are just using the Triple online for parents to use who perhaps are on their waiting list, but need some sort of resources now, do they necessarily need a code if we just give them the website?
Great question, Elizabeth. So when we say code, essentially that is kind of the way to track that we have a parent tied to this number that is accessing this service. And so when we say a parent is getting a code, they're essentially going to the website, clicking, I want this training now, and signing up for the training. Boom, they've accessed it. That's their code. But we are also going to be passing out those cards where, you can hand to a parent. It'll take them to the website where they can go ahead and sign up. Another thing that we can do is we can give like a bank of those essentially like unique identifiers to a specific, agency. So we might be able to say, I'm going to give Kelly these 10 codes and, 1 through 10. And so then we know, that Sally has code 1, Susie has code 2, John has code 3, those kind of things. And then you can kind of track it that way. So all of that to say that you can actually just direct parents, and you can do this right now. You can do this as soon as we get off this webinar, just direct them to that Ohio Triple P online site, and they will just click where I had showed earlier, get access now, and they would sign up and be able to start their program.
Julie would like to know, will we be sharing the PowerPoint?
Yes.
We will indeed. Yes. Anyone that got an invitation to today's webinar will receive the link to the recording as well as the slides that we shared. And then also be staying tuned because we're going to keep coming at you with more information as we go. But yeah, absolutely. We'll make the slides and the recording available. And then if there are any unanswered questions or if there were enough themes that we feel like is just important to address and get out there again, we might put together kind of the FAQ on this and get that out as well.
Michelle would like to know, do you have online videos and not just reading materials for parents that cannot read, or can reading materials have an option to have information read to them online? We have parents that have disabilities and have children too.
Yes, yeah, that's such a great question. We talk all the time in training when we're training providers about the importance of just thinking about family literacy and just different adaptive ways to make sure that we're getting the content out to parents if something around literacy, or if we have materials that aren't in a language that's maybe the parent's first language, that we really want to make sure that our practitioners are delivering content are able to find other means, like relying on more behavioral rehearsal or showing some of the video clips, if a family can't read. With online, there are certainly the video clips, and I think what we would look at is just being able to kind of walk through that with the family, watch, encouraging them to watch some of the videos together, and then maybe that support for them would look like really, instead of them having to read it and interact with it that way, that would be the role of a coach, to be able to really discuss the videos with them, walk them through some of those exercises, engage with them that way. So great question. And, I think we're always looking at making sure that materials and resources are inclusive as they need to be, and that we're kind of covering our bases with that. So always open to feedback on that too, about what's missing, what do we need to be thinking of, what are the additional needs.
Going down to Barbara, did Ohio superintendents, daycare, preschools, administration, etc., receive an invitation to this webinar today?
So I know we sent it out to state partners. I did not have a list of Ohio school superintendents, but I do know some folks from the Department of Education were on our list. And so I honestly cannot tell you for sure if they had received that or not. I know they didn't receive a direct invitation. In terms of daycare and preschool administrators, Kelly, I don't know what network, in terms of that we shared. Do you know?
That's a good question. I'm not.
Okay.
I believe we then offered it to our hub specialists, and then they sent it out. So some folks should have got it. If they did not, once again, you can make it available because it's on recording, and you're more than welcome to share it.
And I'll just speak for my esteemed colleagues. We're happy to repeat as needed.
Yes.
Right. I mean, watching a recording is kind of terrible. So if we don't have to take as much time either. We could condense this if we need to. But we're more than happy by invitation to show up wherever anybody wants to hear more information about what's going on, and bring more folks to the table and learn more from you all about, again, kind of what are the needs? How can we collaborate? That's one of the most fun things that I love about my job, is just really the idea of I don't know. How can I possibly know all the answers? But if we can sit down together and kind of put our heads together and think about what are the opportunities here? What's going on? What are the needs? Hear from you all what your thoughts are. It's really see what we can come up with. So please do reach out if you've got people that you think, oh man, I wish so-and-so had been on this today. They know about this. Have they heard about this? If there's any other groups that we should be meeting with or invited to, absolutely, just let us know.
How about if somebody didn't get the link for this training personally, somebody forwarded to them, can they still get the slides and recording?
We will have a list of all the registrants that showed up today in your emails. So we will send it out to everybody that did show up, whether you got, the link forwarded to you or whether you got the initial invitation. We should have everybody that's on here, your contact information. Then again, we'll do our best to redistribute the recording and the slides to anybody that got the initial round of invitations. But again, feel free to spread the word and share it around, and we want to cover as many folks that are interested as possible.
Are there any modules that discuss parenting children or teens with mental health concerns that are not necessarily disability related?
Okay. There are a lot of strategies, and we believe this in my background's in mental health. There are a lot of strategies in here that we absolutely know when parents have children in a clinical range diagnostically and they go through the Triple P program, kids can move out of that clinical range because of the strategies parents are learning to help promote change in how they're responding and supporting their kids, right? So just know that. And then I will throw out that it's under development, and we expect in the next year, we do have an online version that's going to be coming out. And there may be opportunities to consider how it might fit in the mix in Ohio, but it's going to be specific to parents of children with anxiety. We know what an issue that is right now for so many of us, the global we. Managing stress and anxiety and depression and how much that's again, as it is, the online course, either for parents with younger kids, parents for tweens and teens, we do see good outcomes for families going through it when children have mental health diagnoses, parents really benefiting from it. A lot of times it's adjunct to other treatment modalities that are being provided, right? We think about kids that have experienced trauma, and just the support that families that are going through that need. But all the more important, I think, when you've experienced, something difficult or you've got chronic exposure to stressors, to really be able to think about kind of the basics of parenting, to really focus in on where do I have agency? What can I control for my family? What can I do as a caregiver or parent to just, be more intentional, be more consistent, feel more effective, more confident. So really encourage, that this program is shown to really work with families with all sorts of different ranges of need and interest. And going back to what I was saying at the beginning, kind of that idea of minimal sufficiency. So some parents will go through the first couple of modules and they'll be able to get some ideas and, get some suggestions for some things, and that may be to go. Other parents will start to take the online into it. Maybe they finish it and it makes a big difference. Other families will start it and realize I need more help. This is just really raising my awareness about wanting more supports and more resources. And the hope is, because we've made it so easy to just have an option for them, that they can go back to the website then and maybe they get connected to a provider, right? Or they reach out and we find out that they do need more and we help navigate getting them to the right services they need.
Can you explain how the referral process works for the child care and R&Rs? Okay, I guess that's me. I've been saying the questions. I didn't.
You want me to ask it to you, Kelly?
No, I think I got it. Really, for educators, if a child care provider refers, their boss or something can refer them to do the modules. R&Rs, if you are working directly with a child care center and providers, you would like to do the modules, then you will refer them. Keep a list of who you referred, because then Okra gets a list from Nationwide Children's Hospital and Courtney and them of who completed the modules. We go through and find who are the R&Rs and who have completed it, and that's kind of how we then decide who gets the incentive. R&Rs, you guys will actually send us just an invoice, and that's how we'll get yours. The child care educator we will then kind of do it through the modules, and then the centers will also, for coaching, send us an invoice. So there's several ways to do that or whatever else. But reach out if it wasn't as clear, because it is a little muddled, because we have a kind of quick flyer that helps.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, Kelly, thanks. On the website, there is an info for PEACE email. So just, it's a great place to just check out the website that we're doing. If you have any questions about the PEACE process or anything about any of that, there's an info PEACE email there that you can just send an email through that and we'll get it, and then we can follow up.
I think that's all, guys.
We cover the questions. Any other burning questions that anybody wants to, we'll just, and I'll just, while we're seeing if there's anything else, I'll say a few words, and then Lindsay, it looks like you're going to unmute too. But just really appreciate the opportunity. It's so great to have so many folks join us this afternoon and take time out of everybody's super busy schedules. Just, tune in and listen to this a little bit. We're really looking forward to the collaboration. I think it's great that we've got these resources for parents, and we're thinking about resources for educators and child care providers and family-based care providers. But, the real opportunity here and the vision is also to really strengthen our networks professionally, right? And just really kind of look at what we can do to share ideas, share learning, know what's working and what's not working, and be able to really continue to further our community around this, right? There's such an urgent call to action to make sure that kids are in environments where they're thriving and that the adults around them are showing up and paying attention and feeling less stressed and more like they want to be there in those environments. So just, really look forward to what's to come. Lindsay, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just listening to your comments, Courtney, something that we always talk about at the Trust Fund is when, parents and caregivers have the supports and resources they need, then children are able to get the nurturing environments that they deserve, and they're able to thrive in those environments. So we are just very thankful for all of you that have attended today. I know we did get some questions in the main chat, so much in the main chat, I am not going to even attempt to go back up through and pick out the questions. So if you have a question that didn't get answered today, again, feel free to email us octf@octf.ohio.gov, and we can get those questions answered. And thank you all for all of the work that you do every day to support our families and children.
Thank you so much. And with that, we will close it out today. All right. Have a good rest of your day, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.